What if I told you that one of the world's largest cryptocurrency scams remains unresolved and the mastermind behind it had vanished without a trace? We're talking about a multi-billion-dollar fraud that's deceived millions worldwide, with the architect still at large. Hi everybody, welcome back to the BizTech Academy. I'm Steve. Today we're delving into the fascinating events surrounding the rise and fall of OneCoin and what became one of the largest cryptocurrency scams the world has ever seen. In 2014, Ruja Ignatova, a charismatic and ambitious entrepreneur, founded OneCoin, a cryptocurrency that promised to revolutionize the financial world. Through her grand vision and captivating presentations, Ignatova persuaded millions of people to invest in what she claimed was the next Bitcoin. However, beneath the surface, OneCoin was far from the groundbreaking innovation it was purported to be. There was no working blockchain. There was no tradable token. OneCoin was never listed on any legitimate cryptocurrency exchange. Instead, it was a sophisticated Ponzi scheme that resulted in billions of dollars in losses for its vulnerable investors. And in 2017, as authorities began closing in, Ignatova mysteriously disappeared, leaving behind a trail of financial ruin and unanswered questions. In this video, we delve into the rise and fall of OneCoin, the deceitful tactics employed by Ignatova and her team, the red flags that were overlooked, the dramatic events leading up to Ignatova's disappearance, and the ongoing global hunt for the elusive self-entitled Cryptoqueen. Ruja Ignatova was born in Bulgaria in 1980. At 10, her family moved to Germany where she pursued her education. Ignatova was exceptionally bright, achieving impressive academic success. She earned a law degree from Oxford University and a PhD in private international law from the University of Constance in southern Germany. Her credentials and intelligence were undeniable, setting the stage for what many thought was a promising career, including a 5-year stint at the esteemed management consultancy firm McKinsey & Co. Ruja Ignatova's combination of intelligence, education and persuasion made her a formidable figure. However, it was her ability to blend charm with deceit that truly set her apart, eventually leading her to create OneCoin, one of the largest scams in cryptocurrency history. With a background in both law and business, Ruja Ignatova was poised to make a significant impact, and following the first Bitcoin halving event in November of 2012 and the subsequent rise in Bitcoin's price, Ignatova dreamt up the idea of what she ultimately tagged the Bitcoin killer. OneCoin was launched in 2014 with grand ambitions. Ignatova marketed it as a groundbreaking cryptocurrency that would surpass Bitcoin. The Bitcoin killer was promoted as a new digital currency that would revolutionize the financial world. Revolutionize how, however, was a little less clear. Claims were made about the ease of use and how OneCoin was far less technical than Bitcoin, making it accessible to all. OneCoin was also touted to bring financial services to unbanked populations around the world, particularly in developing countries, resulting in instant mass adoption and, of course, an exponential increase in the price of OneCoin. Now, with all these claims based on a non-existent blockchain and a non-tradable asset price set by OneCoin's creators, it was Ignatova's charisma and presentation skills that were central to OneCoin's early success. She held extravagant events worldwide, often dressed in glamorous outfits, delivering captivating speeches that promised high returns and financial freedom to anyone who invested. She was even featured on the cover of Forbes magazine, although this turned out to be a promotion on the cover of Forbes Bulgaria, which Ignatova had paid for herself. And she also spoke at an event hosted by The Economist magazine, although this was not her event and she did not represent The Economist. The initial hype surrounding OneCoin was immense. Ignatova's presentations inspired confidence and excitement. She promised that OneCoin would democratize finance, allowing anyone to participate in the cryptocurrency revolution, regardless of their background or financial status. Early marketing efforts included multi-level marketing strategies where investors were encouraged to recruit others, earning commissions for every new member they brought in. And this strategy worked. Within the first 18 months of OneCoin's launch, over 1 million people across 175 countries had invested over $4 billion into Ignatova's story. However, despite this growing enthusiasm, there were already signs that not everything was as it seemed. Critics and financial experts began to voice concerns. And in the next chapter, I explore the obvious red flags that appeared as the scam unraveled and how this led to the authorities taking a rather late interest into the antics of the so-called Cryptoqueen. Despite the initial excitement and rapid growth, the facade of OneCoin couldn't last forever. As early as 2015, the first cracks began to appear, culminating in such a blatant con that even the slow-to-act authorities couldn't ignore it any longer. To start with, financial experts began raising red flags, calling OneCoin a Ponzi scheme. It was clear that the funding of the so-called business was based on a model involving the payment of returns to earlier investors using the capital contributed by newer investors, rather than from profit earned by the operation of a legitimate business. And at the top of the scheme was Ignatova herself, personally taking a percentage of every investment. However, when the velocity of new members slows, so do the payments to incumbent members. Questions about the business's legitimacy then arise, generally culminating in the whole deck of cards falling. But OneCoin was different. OneCoin was not a bubble waiting to burst. OneCoin was a scam. By 2015, another red flag was raised, this time by those within the crypto industry itself. The question was simple: where was OneCoin's blockchain? For a cryptocurrency to hold value, it needs to be actively used. This usage requires a dedicated blockchain. As more people use the blockchain, demand for the associated cryptocurrency grows, driving up its price. The price increase then attracts more users and developers to the blockchain, creating more use cases. Consequently, this cycle of growing usage and rising cryptocurrency value continues. Well, that's the theory, but it does all start with a blockchain, and OneCoin didn't and never had one. So we have a Ponzi scheme raising a great deal of cash from vulnerable investors believing they're going to get rich quick, but with no technology underpinning the dream. Bad enough by itself, but then we have the third and by far the biggest red flag. In the summer of 2016, Ruja Ignatova rented out Wembley Stadium in the UK to make a major announcement. It was a significant event with over 3,000 people in attendance. She announced that the number of OneCoin coins in circulation, which was 2.1 billion at the time of the event, would be increased to 120 billion, roughly 50 times more supply overnight. In addition, the price of OneCoin would not change, and all investors would have their holdings doubled for free. For many at the event and others watching from afar, it was clear that Ignatova had missed her economics lecture at Oxford. Increasing the supply of an asset dilutes the value of each investor's holding. Basic economics states that the price of one OneCoin would drop by about 98% as soon as those new coins were released to the market. However, in effect, OneCoin didn't have a market. The buy price was set by OneCoin itself, but there was no sell price because OneCoin was not listed on any cryptocurrency exchange. Essentially, you could buy OneCoin, but you couldn't sell it. The effect of the dilution could not be reflected in OneCoin's price publicly, leaving investors having to trust the price set by Ignatova herself. What's more, the doubling of everyone's OneCoin holding was an insult rather than a gift. 100% gift for an almost 5,000% dilution doesn't sound like a good deal to me. The Wembley event did, however, have one upside. It was so public and so obviously a con that it finally caught the attention of financial authorities worldwide, resulting in an increase in scrutiny and investigations into OneCoin. And in the next chapter, I'll look at how these investigations ultimately led to the disappearance of Ruja Ignatova. In 2016, the Financial Conduct Authority in the UK issued warnings about the potential risks of investing in OneCoin, and similar alerts were issued in other countries. Then, in 2017, the situation escalated dramatically. US authorities arrested several key OneCoin promoters, charging them with fraud and money laundering. Other countries followed suit, issuing warnings and bans against OneCoin. These legal actions brought to light the extent of the fraud, revealing how deeply investors had been misled, and with key figures being arrested, all eyes turned to Ruja Ignatova. Then, in early October of 2017, the US Department of Justice issued a sealed warrant for her arrest. However, the authorities didn't anticipate Ignatova's next move. She vanished into thin air. In October 2017, at the same time as the DOJ issued the arrest warrant, Ruja Ignatova boarded a Ryanair flight from Sofia in Bulgaria to Athens in Greece. It was the last confirmed sighting of her. Since that day, she hasn't been seen or heard from, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and a massive international hunt for her whereabouts. Ignatova left behind her luxurious life, abandoning her lavish homes, high-profile social events. Her sudden and complete disappearance led to numerous theories and speculations about her whereabouts. Some believe Ignatova underwent plastic surgery to alter her appearance and is now living under a new identity. Others suggest that she might be protected by powerful criminal networks that helped her disappear. There are even rumours that she might be hiding in plain sight, using her wealth and connections to stay ahead of the authorities. Despite the myriad of theories, one thing is for certain: the search for Ruja Ignatova is far from over. International law enforcement agencies, including Interpol, have issued warrants for her arrest. On the 30th of June 2022, the FBI added Ignatova to their most wanted list, triggering a global hunt for her whereabouts. Private investigators hired by defrauded investors are also on the case, following any clue that might lead to her capture. The efforts to locate Ignatova are extensive and ongoing. From tracking financial transactions to interviewing former associates, investigators are leaving no stone unturned in their quest to bring her to justice. Despite the extensive search efforts, however, Ruja Ignatova remains at large. Her disappearance has only added to the intrigue surrounding the OneCoin scandal, making her one of the most elusive figures in modern financial history. In our final chapter, we'll look at the aftermath of the OneCoin scam and its lasting impact on the world of cryptocurrency and beyond. The disappearance of Ruja Ignatova marked a dramatic twist in the OneCoin saga, but the story didn't end there. The aftermath of the scam has left a lasting impact on victims, led to significant legal battles, and influenced cryptocurrency regulations worldwide. Many victims of the OneCoin scam are still grappling with the financial fallout. Thousands of investors, having lost their life savings, are engaged in a relentless fight to recover their funds. Class action lawsuits have been filed in several countries as victims seek justice and compensation for their losses. The emotional and financial toll on these investors is immense. For many, the dream of financial freedom is turned into a nightmare of debt and despair. While Ruja Ignatova remains at large, other key figures in the OneCoin operation have faced justice. Ignatova's brother and PA Konstantin was arrested in 2019. He has since pleaded guilty to several charges in the United States, including money laundering and fraud. And his cooperation with the authorities has shed more light on the inner workings of the OneCoin scam. However, Konstantin was released in early 2024 in return for his cooperation with US authorities and the return of $118,000 of ill-gotten gains from the OneCoin fraud. Now, this may seem insignificant, and I personally think it is, but his cooperation could help locate Ruja Ignatova and ultimately bring her to justice. And there's no doubt that these legal proceedings have been crucial in uncovering the full extent of the fraud and holding at least some of those involved accountable. The OneCoin scandal has also had a significant impact on the regulatory landscape for cryptocurrencies. In the wake of the scam, governments and financial authorities around the world have implemented stricter regulations and increased scrutiny of cryptocurrencies. These measures aim to protect investors from similar schemes and ensure greater transparency in the market. As we move forward, the legacy of OneCoin serves as a powerful reminder of the potential dangers in the financial world. It emphasizes the importance of vigilance, education, and regulatory measures to prevent future scams. Ultimately, the story of OneCoin is a lesson in the importance of skepticism and due diligence. By staying informed and cautious, we can protect ourselves from falling victim to similar schemes. Thank you for joining me in this journey through the rise and fall of OneCoin. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. I'm Steve, and this is BizTech Academy.